Welcome back to some Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. And yeah, I don't know what I'm going to necessarily title today's episode, but what I will definitely say is your girl has started playing the closed beta of Petit Planet. And if you don't know what Petit Planet, I don't know why I'm speaking like this, it's even more extra than usual. If you don't know what Petit Planet is, it's basically from the makers of Genshin Impact Hoyoverse. They made an Animal Crossing inspired style game. Animal Crossing Stardew Valley. I just went French there for a second. Animal Crossing Stardew Valley inspired, like life sim sort of game. But good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 8 p.m. on Friday, April 24th, 2026. So yeah, it's a newest installment. They've currently made like quite a few games. Like Hoyoverse, they've made Honkai games, which I don't know what you call them, like action, like third-person action adventure games? Question mark. Genshin Impact, which is kind of like, if I were to draw a parallel, it would be like Breath of the Wild. It's like an exploration sort of adventure game. Honkai Star Rail, which is a turn-based game. Turn-based sci-fi game. Genshin Impact is very fantasy themed. And then Zelda Zone Zero, which is meant to be more like city. It's not called city. What's it called when it's like? It's not called City Core. It's not like Cyberpunk. It's when it's like augmented, slightly different actual real city. There's a word for it, I can't remember, but anyway, it's that, and that's also kind of like a action adventure style game. But this is the latest installment in the game, because they have like two games coming out which are kind of interesting. One is an auto battler game, which is kind of like crossed with Pokemon. It's like a Pokemon version of Teamfight Tactics, kind of. That I know that entered like closed beta a while back, and I don't know if it's ever had another one. I heard it wasn't that well received its beta, which is probably why. But Petit Planet is basically the Animal Crossing version, their life sim, their Stardew Valley, and of course I'm kind of excited about the game because I like Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is a heck of a vibe, you know. It's one of a few, I think, very sort of casual games which does broadly appeal to me. You know, that kind of works on you, I'd say. I'm not sure that exact shade of green would, if you want to choose for it for you, but I think it works. Yes, so I've been quite excited for that game, to see, you know, when it comes out, see what happens. And when I found out there was a closed beta for it, I was like, yes, absolutely, sign me up for that closed beta. So I started playing. Like, I only got access to it quite late last night, like 2 a.m. And I played a little bit last night, and I played a little more today. I'm not that far through, mind you. I'm trying to think where I got to. I got to making it to the co-op element, where it's like you get the big city. What do I think of it so far? I think so far it basically is exactly what it says on the tin. It is miHoYo's take on Animal Crossing. Like, the things even feel pretty similar in some degrees. I don't mean that as a bad thing, because I mean, look, Animal Crossing is a fun game. I think definitely I think what it's lacking at the moment, I would say mostly, is just like a little bit of polish. Everything's like, sometimes things just feel a bit smooth, like some animations don't connect very well to each other, sometimes things don't load in, but I mean, it's a closed beta, what do you expect? But I think it's got its core concept down. Like, yeah, it's a very similar thing. Instead of being given an island, you're given a planet, and the main difference, I would say, is instead of Animal Crossing, which has a very wide net of villages with about 8 different personality types, technically 16 if you want to be very specific, but 8 main different personality types, this game basically exchanges that for far fewer villages, quote quote, and basically just makes all your villages the equivalent of NPCs in Animal Crossing, you know, they're all predefined personalities and traits, and none of them share the same. So it would be like if your town was made up of like the Able Sisters, Tom Nook, Blathers and Celeste, Pelly and Phyllis, and stuff like that, where everyone has a function which they excel at and that allows you to interact with the world. Because I've met a few of them so far. You met like the general caretaker, who's basically the Tom Nook of a game, but he's got a very different vibe. While Tom Nook's like shrewd businessman, this guy's just like sage grandpa sort of figure. And then you get a couple of others, and I've just met the Blabbers equivalent, the person who does the museum essentially. And yeah, I'm having a good time with it so far. I'm interested to see what there is, because I have, obviously, I play Animal Crossing every day, but it's not like I really interact with the systems much every day. Putting it in, while I don't particularly love the gacha game monetization model, I do like the gameplay format of play a little and often, you know, and then having patches every few weeks to release new content. That I do love. And it's interesting to see basically what they'll do with Animal Crossing, which has been a very, you know, the same sort of game for a very long time now, which is totally fair. Like, it doesn't need to be anything else, compared to Petit Planet, which will have its own sort of system. Mind you, this closed beta is a wiped clean beta, which means that once it gets to the end of it, everything will be deleted and then you'll start again. So it's basically just for testing purposes, but I was just interested in trying it, just to see, like, get my feet wet. Do I like this sort of game? Do I like the iteration of it? I don't know, maybe. But I haven't played too long. I probably played for, I would say, about 3 hours maybe total. And it's interesting. It's a fun time, I would say. I mean, it's sort of got the same sort of magic of, you know, like starting your Animal Crossing island for the first time all over again. You know, you got your little world, you can put people down in your world, talking to the NPCs. It's also fully voice acted. Oh, no, not fully, it's mostly voice acted, because not all dialogue is voice acted, which would make it fully voice acted, I suppose, which is nice as well. There's a few things which is just like, you know, it's different, you know. I can see the vision they're going for, certainly, but a lot of it does translate very, very closely to Animal Crossing, you know. Like, instead of having a shovel or an axe, they put it together as an axe and a pickaxe in one, called, I can't even remember what it's called. It was called a word I'd never heard of before, like a hannock or something. Mannock? What's it called? Axe and pickaxe in one. I can't remember what it's called. Mannocks? Is that it? Define Mannocks? Petit Planet tools. It was really random, because it was a word I was like, what is this word? Because I saw it out of a context outside of tools, and I was like, I don't even know what this means. What if I watch a 12-minute video about what were tools? There's only like 8 tools, so I don't know why there's that many. Fishing tongs, pogo stick, bug net, shovel. Apparently there is a shovel as well, so there you go. Bucket, roller. What? Okay, I see the wheel. I can see what it is. Are you ever going to get down to it, or do you just go around it in? Or the pogo stick, and it's like, oh yeah, you get, instead of a pole vault and a ladder, you get a pogo stick, which is both in one. So yeah, I don't know. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing for games to be inspired by one from the other, because they can definitely diversify themselves, and we can see how oh, Mattock, that was it, Mattock. I was like, what the heck is a Mattock? It's a versatile heavy-duty digging and chopping tool. Genuinely never heard of it. What makes it different from a pickaxe? I don't know. Oh, I do know this. Similar to a pickaxe. Combines a vertical axe with a horizontal adze, a cutter. While a pickaxe is a pick and an axe. I never even thought about that before. That's actually fascinating. You know, like how a pickaxe is 2 tools in one. On one side it's the literal mining pick, and then on the other side is supposedly, I suppose, like an axe, I guess. That's what a mattock is, except for instead of a pick and an axe, it's an adze and axe. Wow, I never really thought about that. Anyway, that's what I'm going to title today's episode, Mattock, because I was like, what the heck is a mattock? So yeah, there's things which sort of like one-to-one translate, you know, even like the way you customize it pretty similar. I will say it's significantly easier though, because what you can do is you can bring out your inventory as you walk around as well and put stuff down, and it like shows you where it should go. You still can't go third person mode outside, but you can do third person mode inside, so that's pretty similar. But it definitely feels like a game I should be playing on controller, except for the Steam controller doesn't seem to be set up to work for it, unless I like rebind everything for it, but then I had to relaunch it through Steam, and I'm like, I can't be bothered to do that, so be it. Still in closed beta anyway. But I think it's nice. Like, I haven't even got to a meat of a game yet, which is, I think, the main thing, which is a meat of a game, is like the explorations you can do, which are the equivalent of like Nook Mile Island tours, where you get stuff as well. I think that's also how you get more villages. I don't really know, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure how progression looks like. Again, I've only played a little bit, but I think the main thing that I've done so far is like, as soon as I got the social element of a town, I just basically messed around in the town the entire time. It was so silly. So as it turns out, by the way, if you play the game, people can't see what you're typing, I think, most of the time, unless you're in specific zones where they can, which kind of makes sense. I guess it's not trying to be an MMO. I think it could be, to be honest. Like, I don't see why not, to be honest. It's not like it's Club Penguin. Well, at least I think that's the case, because I remember it saying that near the beginning, and I forgot about it later on, which is very awkward, because I did like a whole stand-up comedy routine on the stage we had there. But yeah, I basically just messed around in the town the whole time. Like, I did my quest and I was like, what's going on here? And I saw a load of people sitting around like a campfire, and then I saw like loads of speech bubbles, and I was like, what is going on? I got to check out what's going on over there. Turns out what this game has done is they've used AI for a lot of the NPCs. And I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. I can, I guess, conceptually understand why, so they can be a bit more dynamic with how they respond to you. But they just respond to you like in even more insane ways, to be honest. And to me, it just feels like it's a bit excessive, because I'm kind of there to talk to the other people. Like, the NPC doesn't really need to talk back. I guess the NPC did make for a sounding board, because there's one NPC which is called like Rife, I think, who basically plays word games, except for the AI is not very good and it doesn't play the word games correctly. It basically plays a play like Shiritori, if you've heard of it. It's a Japanese game where but the equivalent is you say a word and then you take a last letter of that word, the next person has to say a word beginning with that letter. The English version kind of sucks compared to the Japanese version, because the Japanese version has an end. If you ever end a word with a sound n, then you lose, because no word in Japanese begins with an n sound. It only ends things. End syllables. But in English, you can just keep going, you know? Like, you might end things with X, sure, but I mean, there's still a decent amount of, like, X words, right? Xylophone. Xenomancy. I don't know, xenomancy's not came to mind. Like, I was thinking xenophobia, but that's not what I wanted to say. Why don't you say the opposite of it? Xenophilia, there you go. You can go Xenoblade Chronicles, of course. X-ray, xylophone, Okay, there's not that many, but there's a few. It doesn't end the game outright. I guess it ends it after 3, maybe. But it's pretty hard to get, like, words which end in X in the first place. But in Japanese, there's actually quite a few words which end in N. So anyway, that's not a point. Anyway, it plays that game, and it plays it completely wrong, because sometimes you'll say it, and then it'll be like, okay, use the X. Now it's your turn. Say something begins with E. And then you say it. And then it turns out, they go like, user 2, it's your turn. And then user 3 says a word, and then it goes, oh, sorry, user 3, that's wrong. You need to say a letter which begins with this. And then you say like a word like fine, and it says, oh, fine, that's a great word. All right, user 4, it's your turn. Say a word which begins with N. And you're like, am I meant to say N or E? Because you just told me a different letter entirely. Anyway, I wasn't really there for the word games. I was there just to roleplay and do something stupid. I can't remember what I did. I just basically typed out like full sentences in a very over-the-top, grandiose way. I kept trying to ask it like philosophical questions, and it kept being like, please don't stray from the topic. Let's focus on the game for now. And I was like, I apologize. It was really funny. Absolutely no one cared for what I was doing there, which was very sad. There was one person who was actually legitimately trying to play the game. I was like, I'm just sorry, I'm just completely ruining this for you. Because it can also play other games. It can play like, there's this riddle-based game, except for the riddles are awful. Like, it did a riddle, and it was like, oh, it's a kind of riddle. It's actually a very popular, like, thing in Chinese. I forget what it's called, but like a Chinese puzzle sort of thing is where they basically describe a strange happenstance or scenario, and you got to figure out what this scenario means. Like, there's a very famous, well, I'm not sure if it's that famous. There's one which my friend or someone told me once, basically that like a man was like celebrating his birthday or something, and then when they lit the cake, everyone wished him happy birthday, and then he blew out the candles, and then immediately he felt like awful or something like that. I think I actually gave too much context. I think the context might have just been like a man blows out a candle and then he immediately feels terrible or something. And then what everyone else is meant to do is they're meant to ask questions. And they're like, oh, did he feel terrible because of something that physical that happened to him? And then the person goes, sort of, not really. It's basically like a detective sort of game where you have a Q&A back and forth. I know those exist in English as well. I don't know what they're called, to be honest, but I heard them in Chinese context, I think, first. But yeah, anyway, but if you want the answer to that one, apparently it's because he was a blind man and him and a load of survivors got abandoned, trapped somewhere, and then they were like, okay, we need to eat pieces of our body to like survive, and then we'll draw lots. Everyone cut off their like left hand or something, and we'll eat the left hand from everyone as a meal. And then the next day was their birthday, and who knows how they got candles. They celebrated his birthday, we lit the candles, he blew it out, and everyone started clapping. And then he immediately felt bad because he realized he was tricked, that no one else cut off their left hand and it was only him or something, which he didn't realize because he was blind. Something like that. And you might be like, that's a little bit convoluted. That's kind of a point. It's a convoluted story which I'm meant to piece together. Anyway, the one in the game made no sense. It was like there was a man and he tried to catch a star, and he said, hurry, hurry. And then he said, what happened? I mean, I was just saying a load of random stuff which made no sense. Like, he was starving and he eats stars, and he he was going to die that very moment if he didn't have a star, or I can't remember what. I don't know. I just said random stuff just trying to evoke a reaction from the AI, I guess. Turns out the answer to that was he was on a friend's planet, which is a mechanic in the game, and he was trying to catch a star. And I was like, that's not even a riddle. And then it did another riddle, and then I was like, this sounds suspiciously like another mechanic from this game. And I was like, all your riddles based around mechanics of a game? And then it gave me a vague answer, and I left. Anyway, then I tried to do a stand-up comedy routine because there was a stage, and it was also very weird. It was like, I don't understand the game that was there. I didn't try and play it because there was no one else, but it like gives you a theme, and then you had to like basically debate. You submit an item, and then you had to debate why your item fits a theme, which I think in fairness could actually kind of work if more people were there. Like, you debate against someone else, and then the audience votes on who they like better, you know, in a Roblox sort of way. That I can see happening. But no one was there, and I did a fill-up comedy routine on the stage, and then I think no one responded, probably because they couldn't see my messages. But then the best part is I went to a cafe afterwards, and the cafe actually had public group chat, which then that's the point I realized, oh, no one probably saw me typing at this point. And I always like, I'm immediately going to go in here and I'm going to find anyone who wants to roleplay some random scenario with me. I'm not going to do it. And lo and behold, I sat down. There was someone called Linnea, who I don't know if that's her actual name, but there's also a Genshin Impact character who's just released Corvat. And immediately, first thing she said to me was, I tried to sell her a lobster, her being the barista. And I was like, how did that go? She's like, not well. And then we immediately went into a thing where it's like, you know, times are changing these days. It's so tough to sell lobsters. And yeah, she was like, oh yeah, back in my day, I used to be able to sell like 10 of them. And I was like, oh, you'd be lucky if you can even sell 2 now. And then I tried to get her a drink, and because I tried to pretend it was like a speakeasy bar or something. And then I couldn't actually, like, mechanically, it wouldn't let me. It was like, you can only serve drinks to people who are at the bar. And I was like, we're both at the bar. And then I just made up some thing. Well, I remember now. I tried to order a gin and tonic from the AI but barista, and they were like, sorry, we don't serve those here, we only serve coffee. And I was like, oh, sorry, I don't drink caffeine anymore, not since the incident. And then Linnea, you know, perfect person there, is like, yes, I'm here to do the social roleplay with you, whoever you are, random person, dear darling. Or she was like, oh, dare I even ask? And then I went in and like a whole like noir sort of like conversation which we sort of ping-ponged back and forth, where I describe a situation of why I can't have caffeine anymore. And the long and short was, I was a detective back in the day, and I had like someone on the inside who I lost contact with, and I was looking at a newspaper, and I saw like an advertisement for a coffee shop, and I was like, I never heard of it before, so I thought I'd check it out. And then behind the counter was the person, my man on the inside, the barista. And then I was just like, get her. It was so funny. This is what I love, social moments in social games like this. And then, without hesitation, Linnea, shout out to you, jumps up, grabs her Mattock, and starts trying to like charge at. I can't remember what the girl was called, no, the barista. And I found her hilarious. Anyway, I added her as a friend, and then I quit the game out after that because I went to go eat dinner. But I was like, genuinely a lot of fun. That's what I play these social games for, is just to say silly stuff like that. You know, back in the day, I used to play social games for the mechanical element for it. Now I don't. Because it's wild to me, I used to play Transform Ice, not for the social element. I used to play it to play Transform Ice. And my friend used to play it for the social element. Nowadays, I would absolutely just go into a Transform Ice room and just roleplay just an absolute nonsense scenario. Just pretend I'm some made-up character or something until people are no longer responding, and then I'll go to a different room. I can see myself doing that. Anyway, that's what I was doing here. So I don't know who you are, Linnea, but shout out to you, random person in my closed beta who listened to my story of why I don't drink caffeine anymore. It was really funny. Anyway, who doesn't love a good social game? That's why I'm like, if I had more time, I feel like I would love MMORPGs like that again, but so be it. Anyway, I haven't really got stuck that much more into the mechanics yet, but I'm excited to play a little bit here and there just to see how it goes. And that's how it happens. And anyway, now I think I'll round this episode off here, don't you think? So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.